There's the impaled corpse I promised. And here is the London Zoo. Looks like we won't be leaving. Someone crashed their buggy just outside the gate. To make our time here more tolerable, I've replaced the N64 soundtrack with the original PlayStation music. And we'll be doing so for the remainder of the Let's Play. Just was sick to death of that one track that kept shoved down our throat in the N64. Our combo for the level is the Cyclone Leg Sweep, and for once they've actually taught us something useful. There it was now. Perhaps didn't look especially impressive, but what makes it worthwhile is that the Peace Monster blocked the attack, but it broke his block. This makes it the perfect tool to deal with all the overly offensive enemies, and it also knocks them down when it hits, which allows you to set up for really any combo you feel like using, which retroactively makes every combo in the game actually usable. Not necessarily good, but usable. It's excellent for setting up killing blows, and I'm going to be using it to excess, as I should have been doing the entire Let's Play. There it is again. You can just spam it, and you'll kill anything in the game. Looks like we'll be dodging lightning strikes mere millimeters from where we're standing, as the London Zoo is experiencing a bit of a downpour right now. For no discernible reason, you can break the entrance to that cage. It's completely pointless because you cannot even get to the ledge that the cage is perched on there, and there's absolutely nothing inside. Even if I hadn't completely botched that jump, we would not be doing anything up there. In fact, there's a lot of pointlessness here in the London Zoo. For example, this cage, which has not an animal, but a carving of an animal within. And that's it. I'm always excited when a video game has a zoo level, but then I remember that the fun part of zoos is the animals, and no way in hell is the game going to include those, so ultimately what we're left with here is a banal trudge through mud and monsters. In fact, I'm gonna level with you, this is the nadir of nightmare creatures. We've had a long string of pretty uninteresting levels. This one just makes it too long of a string. I assure you, things are going to start happening in this game, and relatively soon. But first, we need to get through the zoo. I'm going to be making frequent stops to see which cages I can break into, because there's a lot of prizes inside. But at this point, Ignatius is so well stocked, we are going to be fine for the rest of the game. This cage is inaccessible. That sound was actually from a nearby cage being destroyed by a monster. Didn't even need to trip him. In fact, eventually, I will remember that I have the appropriate upgrade to one-hit kill them with spinning attacks. For now, though, I need to focus on dealing with the layout of this level, because it's fairly absurd. That switch that ends up behind you if you're just walking down the path opens up a cage quite a good distance away, and it's a required part of progress. It's not a secret. Must have been awful to work at this zoo back before it was abandoned. Well, with zoo patrons having the means to just open and close cages at their discretion. Most likely, this place was more dangerous before the monsters invaded. But not before this thunderstorm. This thunderstorm is peak danger. There's also occasional rock slides here at the zoo. No big deal. This is the cage that the switch opened. Bit frustrating to have to backtrack if you miss that switch. Ah, A for effort, Peeps Monster. It also appears to be raining inside this cave structure, which, that can't be a good sign. But anyway, while we explore this spider-infested area for the necessary switch that is required to get out of here, I'll kill some time by explaining Ignatius' backstory. So we've kind of been leaving that hanging for quite a long time at this point, and it is integral to the game's story. Ignatius is a London priest who happens to be an expert in occult rituals, foreign languages, general mysticism. And one day, a black book is left on his doorstep. That book is the Diary of Samuel Pepys, and on its rotting pages he deciphers an arcane formula for the transfiguration of living flesh. This is after the plague of monstrous transformations has already begun, so in order to formulate a plan of what to do next, Ignatius sends the book to his friend and expert immunologist, Dr. Jean F. in New Orleans. The doctor is only ever called Jean F., but unofficial sources state that his name is Dr. Franciscus, for what it's worth. Anyway, he promptly travels to London and gets murdered by Adam Crowley, who steals the Diary of Samuel Pepys back. As we recall, this is what prompts Nadia on her quest for revenge, but at the time, she doesn't know who her father's killer is. It's not until his funeral that a strange man in black robes delivers unto her a note that says, "Know about Adam Crowley, signed HV." Now, HV never comes up again in the entire plot of the game, so we have no way of knowing who the hell that is. However, going back to unofficial sources, they unanimously agree that HV stands for Henry Victor, who is a high-ranking member of the Brotherhood of Hecate. Apparently, Crowley has gone rogue, and the Brotherhood is trying to stop him, but only by passing notes and leaving cryptic hints to individuals who have very specific talents. Not the best plan, and it doesn't work out for them. This not technically canon branch of the plot is made all the more bizarre by the choice of the name Henry Victor, which is the name of an actual British historical figure. We know Nightmare Creatures did love to do that, but the real Henry Victor is a prolific British actor who was born 88 years after the events of the game. So I don't know if the developers were just that poorly researched, or if they were trying to imply something incredibly bizarre, or if this is all bullshit. There's simply no way to say. Telling that story did get us most of the way through the zoo, though. It's actually a fairly small level, just made needlessly irritating with that cave detour. Here's an awkward little trick to get some health orbs. Seems very dangerous, but the fact is that the jump in this game is completely binary. If you don't press any directional input, your jump goes directly up and very slightly forward, which is perfect for landing on something right in front of you. And if you do press forward, you make an incredible long-distance leap, which is usually the perfect distance for all the game's platforming. There is the exact moment that I remembered. Spinning attacks will kill these guys. There's a bit of a long gap between playing this and playing the previous level. Another gate opening on its own. Wasn't ominous before. Surely it's not ominous now. No, it's an ambush, and one we should well have expected. Crowley told us exactly where to go for this level, and following in his footsteps really should have given him plenty of time to set up a trap. A trap that consists of only 2 enemies, so really I'm just trying to make him feel better by dying there. big open courtyard, I expected something, but not much of anything. And explosive barrels that kill themselves if you get anywhere near them. It's almost impossible to get damaged by them because of that. Chopped off half of that Peeps monster, but not good enough. The other half's still coming at me. Now they're out of the way, we can do some more harpy killing. Harpies are kind of inadvertently interesting enemies. They actually are immune to dynamite attacks, and I think it's because their torso is one single piece. You can't blast their wings off. The only parts of them that will come off are their tail and their head. Some strikes will knock their body off, but it will be their entire body, and they will continue flying around. With the same graphics, their body will not be visibly removed, but it will be lying on the ground next to their still flying body. It's weird. And there's Crowley himself to welcome us to the museum he told us to come to. Museum with a giant dead animal in it. At the zoo. It seems just incredibly bizarre. But they actually did their research. The London Zoo is just a few miles away from a zoological museum, which has a gigantic dinosaur skeleton right in the middle of it. In fact, it looks quite a bit like what we're seeing, minus the terrible N64 graphics. And of course, it's all an excuse to let us knock down the giant dinosaur. Much appreciated. Now, the actual museum is about 2 miles away from the zoo, so this level would have to be much, much larger in order to be geographically accurate. But still, surprisingly close. I'm just shocked anyone actually cared. Hell, I'm shocked I cared enough to look it up. Hey look, Ignatius is an exhibit. Okay, I was really desperate to have some fun at this point. This level could actually be completed much, much faster than what I showed off in the video, but I wanted to be thorough for some reason. And I wasted a lot of time. That was the big grand finale of the level. 3 Peeps monsters. That was Crowley's legendary plan to kill us off once and for all. We did more damage to ourselves knocking down the dinosaur. While I'm here though, we're gonna destroy all the exhibits, steal an antique gun. And that's the zoo. Onward to better things.
Give it up. I'll murder you the way I murdered that imbecile Dr. Jean F.
Well, that's an awful thing to say, but we are going to make him pay for it. This is the last truly useless level of the game, as next time our heroes will finally make measurable progress towards defeating their foe, Adam Crowley.